We continue now at the top of Daf Lamed Gimel Amud Aleph and Mesechet Kesubos. This is Kesuvos Daf 33a. On the previous Amud, the Gemara had asked on Rabbi Yochanan, why is it that Rabbi Yochanan says, when you have a situation of Malchus and Mammon, why does he say you get the Malchus? And so the Gemara had answered when it comes to, let's say, a situation of onus by a person's sister. So Rabbi Yochanan answered, well, there's a pasuk, there's a lav over there, and the lav implies Malchus, and therefore if you're going to say there's no Malchus, if you're going to say instead all you do is pay money, so then you're going to nullify that lav. And so the Gemara says, well, according to that logic, chovel b'chavero namni. What about a case where a person wounds his friend? We know in that case the person does pay money, and then again, aren't you nullifying the lav? If so, bitalta lo Yosef. Aren't you nullifying the lav of lo Yosef pen Yosef? Again, that's the lav that says that a person is not allowed to hit somebody. And similarly, edim zomim in nami. Also by edim zomin, you have a similar question. Imkain bitalta v'hayim bin hakos harasha. Again, if you're going to say by edim zomim that they pay money in a situation where there's potential lashes and potential paying money, again, you're going to nullify the pasuk that talks about Malchus with regards to Edim Zomimin. Rashi over here says, we know that when a person wounds his friend, for sure he pays money and doesn't get the lashes. So Tikshi, you should have the same question, the same difficulty. The pasuk of Lo Yosef is the source that you're not allowed to hit your friend, and therefore again you're nullifying that. Bin Hakos, and also there's a pasuk by Edim Zomimin, but Mesechet Makos Mukmin Allah Edim Zomin. The Gemara Mesechet Makos says this pasuk is talking about Edim Zomin, so again you'll nullify that as well. So you can't simply say that the fact that there's a lav which implies Malchus automatically means you get Malchus and not Mammon, because then that should apply to these other cases as well. And so the Gemara says, obviously the psukim are not the reason, ella rather Edim Zomimin. When it comes to Edim Zomimin, Efshel Lakiyum, we could fulfill the pasuk anyhow in a different situation. But Ben Grusha Ben Chalutza, for example, the halacha is that if Edim Zomin testify about a Ben Grusha Ben Chalutza, so we don't say that they become Chalal. Rather, what we say is, we say that over there they get Malchus. So you do have a kiyum of Malchus in that case. That's the very first Mishnah in Mesechet Makos. And Chovel b'chaver nami, also by the case where a person wounds his friend. Equally kiyum, you can fulfill the pasuk which implies Malchus. In what case? Kagon sheiko hakashe in b'shava pruta. For example, if a person hits his friend, but it's the value of the damage is less than a shava pruta, it's less than a pruta. So then again, you don't pay money. Instead, you get Malchus. So as long as there's some scenario in these cases where you get Malchus, like by Ben Grusha Ben Chalutza, by Chovel b'chaver less than a shava pruta. So in those cases, that's good enough to fulfill the pasuk, and that's true also by the pasuk of a person's sister. Achoso nami, when it comes to a sister also, ikolakiyume ba'achoso bogeres, we can simply fulfill the pasuk. We're talking about his sister who is a bogeres, meaning to say she's a full adult. There is no knas, there's no mammon in that case, and therefore the punishment is lashes. And Rashi over here explains, El al karchach kevan de Rabbi Yokra l'tashlum. And obviously what you have to say is, since the pasuk does say that there's a tashlum and that there's a payment, ikol ukme lonish malchus de lavdi devim idenanu esish ploni kohen shu ben grusha. You could say that the malchus applies in another particular case. Let's say again they testify about a certain kohen that he's really a ben grusha, he's really a cholol. Deleka l'ukme kasher zamam. There we can't apply kasher zamam. V'lomar yehu ben grusha tachtav. We can't make the aid into a cholol. Elasofek esar boim. Rather we give malchus. Again, that's the first Mishnah in Mesechet Makos. Also, when it comes to a person wounding his friend, you could simply say there is no value to the damage. In terms of all 5 different kinds of payments, there's no shava pruta. Again, there's going to be a situation where he doesn't go down in value, he doesn't lose out any work, he doesn't need any doctor bills. Again, there's no pain over there. The person's an imbecile, so there's no boshes. You can come up with a case where there's no monetary payment and there's going to be lashes. So, and the same thing is true, a person has relations with his sister. You can have a case, let's say the case is, onus, but it's a bogeres, she's a full adult. But if she would be a nara, l'shalim, so then in that case there would be a payment, and there would not be lashes. And since, as we said before, there was a gzer shava, tachas to say that you pay money and you don't get lashes in the case of the nara. And the Gemara continues, and the Bach changes this to Ella Rabbi Yochanan. Rather, Rabbi Yochanan, again, why does Rabbi Yochanan say that if you have a situation of Malchus and Mammon, the punishment is going to be the Malchus? What does he do with the Tachas? And so the Gemara says, Hai Tachas Asher Ina, that pasuk of Tachas Asher Ina, which we used earlier to say that the person pays Mammon, so he uses that for something else. He uses that for Abaya's teaching. The Amar Abaya, because Abaya said, Amar Kra, the pasuk says, Tachas Asher Ina, again, it's talking about a situation of onus, and it says he pays the 50 kesef because he afflicted her. Tachas asharina. So hay tachas asharina, when it says that pasuk of tachas asharina, mechlal diika boshes upagam, what that pasuk is implying is that this payment is above and beyond other payments that might be necessary when you damage a person. For example, the payment of boshes for humiliation, and the payment of pagam for doing damage. As Rashi over here says, L'chidei Abaya b'shili pirk, and this is like Abai said at the end of our perek, deparchinon ve'ema chamisham amar achmona mikol mili. It says over there, we ask, so maybe it's just 50, maybe that's all you have to pay. Maybe that's the only payment that exists by a case of ones. B'shani Abai, and Abai over there says, chamisham kesef nischadshu tachas kanas. The chamisham kesef, that's for the kanas or inui. That's because of the affliction of her. Aval boshes upagam shu b'shar chovel lo kalakan. But when we talk about boshes and pagam, which applies by everything else, that's not included in this. In other words, means to say that those payments exist as well, and so that's what he does with the word tachas. And the Gemara continues, V'ula, and what about Ula? How does he learn out this teaching of Abaya? Nafgalei mida Rava. He learns it out from what Rava said. Yamar Rava, because Rava said, Amar Kra, the pasuk says, V'nasan ho'ish hashochev ima la'avi ha'na'arach hamishim kasev. It says this person who lays with her, he gives the father of the young girl, he gives her 50 kesef. And so we understand from that pasuk, hano'as shechiva chamishim, the benefit or the pleasure that he derived from laying with her, that's the 50. Mechlal de'ika boshes upagam. But that implies that there's still other payments that need to be taken care of, such as the payment of boshes and the payment of pagam, like we said above. And the Gemara continues, Rabbi Lazar says, Edim zomamin mimona mishalami umilka lo lucky. The way we know that Edim zomamin pay money and do not get malchus, mishum delav b'nei hasra ninu, for a simple reason, since you don't give a warning to Edim zomamin before they testify, you can't give malchus without a warning. And the Gemara says, Amar Rava says, Teida, you should know, I'll prove it to you, that there's no hasra when it comes to Edim zomamin, because nisri b'hu emas, when exactly should we give the Edim this warning? Nisri b'hu meikar, if we give them the warning much earlier, so Amri Ishtalin, so then they're going to say that we forgot the warning, it's not going to be worth anything. Nisri b'hu b'shas ma'isa, now if we warn them right before they're about to testify, so Parshi v'lo masadi, then we're going to scare them off, they'll separate, and they won't want to testify at all. We want them to testify in court. If we're going to give them such a warning about the punishments of kasher zamam, etc., right before they testify, that's going to be problematic. And Nisri b'hu levasof, and if we warn them after they testify, so my dahava, what happened happened, you can't warn them afterwards, that doesn't make sense. And so the Gemara continues, Maskefla Abaya. Abaya asked the following question: V'nisri b'hu b'soch kedei dibur. Why don't we just warn them toch kedei dibur from when they testify? In other words, immediately after they testify, while there are still a few moments for them to retract, let's warn them at that point in time. Maskefla Rav Acha Breder Avika, and Rav Acha Breder Avika, he asks, V'nisri b'hu meikara v'nir mazbur muzeh. Or why don't we warn them much earlier, and then we'll kind of hint to them that warning right at the time of their testimony? Why isn't that a possibility? So there are possibilities of when we could warn them. So the Gemara continues, Hadar Amar Abaya. So then Abaya retracted and he said, Lav mil sahi di amri. What I'm saying is nothing, because because if you think that Edom Zomim do require hasra, in other words, we can't make all these arguments that maybe we could do hasra this way or that way. It can't be that they require hasra, because if they did require hasra, kilo masrinan bahu lo katalinan lahu, that would mean that if we didn't warn them, then we wouldn't kill them, we wouldn't give them the punishment. But that doesn't make sense. Mi'ika midi, is there such a thing? The inu bo katal below hasra, they're coming and trying to kill without a warning, because again, they're false witnesses, so they're testifying falsely, trying to kill somebody who's innocent with no warning. V'inu bo hasra, and then we would require for them to get killed, we would require that they receive a warning. That doesn't make sense. You have to fulfill the pasuk of we do to them what they tried to do to the defendant. That you can't fulfill in this manner, and therefore it is clear that there's no warning by Edom Zomamin. But the Gemara continues, Maskif lo Rav Sama Breder of Yirmiyah. Rav Sama Breder of Yirmiyah, he asks the following question: Elamayata, but according to that, Ben Grusha Ben Chalutza. What about the case of Ben Grusha Ben Chalutza? Meaning to say, you have a situation of Edom Zomamin that they testify that the defendant, who's a Kohen, they say he's really a Chalal, he's the son of a Grusha or a Chalutza. So over there, Delomi Kasher Zomam Kamis Rabbi. There, the punishment doesn't come from Kasher Zomam, because again, we don't make them Ben Grusha Ben Chalutza. We don't make them into Chalalim. Rather, we give them Malchus. So in that particular case, Liboy Hasra, there maybe we should require a warning according to that logic. If the whole reason they don't require a warning is because of the pasuk of Kasher Zamam, in situations of Edom Zoman where there is no Kasher Zamam, would you say that a warning is required? And to that the Gemara says no, because Amar Kra, the pasuk says Mishpat Echad Yelachem. It should all be one and the same judgment. It has to be identical. Mishpat Hashava Lekulchem. All of these judgments have to be identical. If a warning is not required in the standard case of Kasher Zamam, then it is not required in this case of Ben Grusha Ben Chalutza as well. And the Gemara continues, Rav Shisha B'rei Ravidi Yama, Rav Shisha B'rei Ravidi says, Chovel b'chavero nami, also in the case of Chovel b'chavero, Mimonim, Meshalim, Umilka lo lucky, the punishment is going to be paying money and not lashes. Mehacha, that comes from here, from the following pasuk. The pasuk says, V'chiyinotzu anoshim v'nogfu ishahara v'yotzu yiladel. Let's say two people are fighting, and then in the course of their fighting, they end up that they hit a woman who's pregnant, and it causes a miscarriage. V'yomer Rebbe Elazar, and Rebbe Elazar says, B'mitzvah shebemisa hakos medaber. The pasuk here is talking where the intention was, these two people fighting, the intention was that one wanted to kill the other, and then again they ended up that they injured this woman. Like the pasuk says, Vim oson yiyev v'nasata nefesh tachas nefesh. It says again, if there's going to be this damage that is inflicted, so then you have to pay a soul for a soul. And Rashi over here explains, B'mitzvah shevemisa shemiskaven haylo hargo. In other words, the case of the pasuk is, one was intending to kill the other. Hakos medaber, that's what the pasuk is talking about. Vim oson yiyeh shemesa isha. What does it mean? It means to say that something happened that caused the woman to die. The woman ended up dying because of this fight. And so the payment's going to be a soul, even though the intention was he wanted to kill his friend. He didn't want to kill this woman. But the point is, the pasuk is teaching us, if a person wants to kill one person and accidentally ends up killing a different person, so in such a situation, the person is chayev. That's the case of the pasuk. And so now the Gemara clarifies, well, what exactly is the case? Idalo asrube, if the case is that there was no warning whatsoever, amai mikdal, so why is there a death penalty over here? It has to be there's a warning. Elapshita da asrube, rather it's obvious that there was a warning when these two people were fighting. There was a warning, if you kill, there's going to be a chi of misa. Musr ladavar chamar having musr ladavar hakal, and the Gemara assumes if you're warned for something strict, like the death penalty, that includes any warning for something more lenient, for example, lashes. So there was a warning over here, and that warning included malchus. And what does the pasuk go on to say? It says v'lo yiason. Let's say you have a situation where someone didn't die, there was just a damage. Let's say there was just a miscarriage. So anosh yeonish, then the person is surely punished, meaning to say there's a punishment of money, and therefore that's the source over here, that the punishment of wounding another person, the punishment is going to be money and not lashes. And so the Gemara continues, Maskefla Rav Ashi. So Rav Ashi asks the following question: Mimai, how do you know this is true? Mimai de musr ladavar chamar have musr ladavar hakal. How do you know if you're warned for something strict that's automatically a warning for something more lenient? Who says that the warning for malchus is included? Maybe there's no malchus because there really was no warning for malchus. Dilma lo have, maybe it's not true. Maybe there's no warning over here. And imtim salomar havin. Even if you're going to say that there is a warning, mimai de misa chamura. How do you even know that death is stricter than malchus? And we'll take a look at Rashi over here. Rashi says, idalo asru beim to misenu tehareg. If they didn't warn the guy that if he kills he's going to get the death penalty, ladavar chamur misa. Again, the Gemara assumes at the beginning that misa is more chamur. Having musr ladavar hakal, that's considered a warning for something more lenient like lashes. Shem yakenu v'lo yamus, meaning if he hits the person and he doesn't die, Yilke is going to get lashes. V'afilu hachiyamar achmana. And still, what does the pasuk say? Even though there is a warning at this point in the Gemara, still the pasuk says, T'chi ein sham chi of misa yeyanish demei valdus, that if there is no death penalty, so then the punishment's going to be money. That's a punishment of payment for the miscarriage. V'avagav de'iko hasra l'malchus. Now, even though there was a warning for malchus, you still pay money. Alma meshalim ve'eno lokas. So you see from here that the punishment is going to be payment and not going to be lashes. And we'll continue with this discussion in the next video on Daf Lamed Gimel Amud Beis.